Again, look, this is the mindset. You asked me what some of the most successful people had in common.
So, welcome to the show, Tomas Svitorka.
Hey, great to be here. Thanks for having me.
And I've been looking forward to this. So, what got you into life coaching?
Great question. Do you want the short story or the long story?
Long.
Okay. So what got me into coaching was I actually did my degree in psychology because in my early 20s I got into personal development because I was kind of in the environment where a lot of people around me were, um, much more successful, and I was trying to figure out, why I wasn't successful, and that kind of led me to personal development. I started reading books about it, just the classics, Dale Carnegie, Jim Rohn, and so on, and learning about just personal development, setting goals, how to be disciplined, and so on. And that had incredible impact on my personal and professional life. At my work, I started getting promoted, and I was training my team with those different skills, but also friends and people in my life. I was so enthusiastic about it that I was sharing all those different tools and skills. And and a few years later, I realized like I really enjoyed that, and I thought I'd love to do this professionally, kind of helping people do better. But I didn't know anything about coaching. I was about 24, 25. And the kind of the closest thing to it, what I thought was to become a psychotherapist or psychologist. So at 25, I went back to uni, keeping my full-time job, studying in the evenings, did my degree in psychology. Whilst I absolutely love that, I think it's fascinating. I think everyone should learn about the human mind and human brain and human psyche. I realized that therapy is quite, um, a little too past oriented and quite passive in a way from the perspective of the therapist. And I was a lot more fast paced, extroverted, goal oriented, kind of ambition focused. And I don't think I would really that the therapy would be for me or being a therapist. And I started looking further into that, and somehow coaching appeared on my radar, and that sounded fantastic. Sounded like exactly what I wanted to do. But how would I do that? Can I do it? Is it is it something people just like learn? Do I have to go through trainings? Would anyone take me seriously? Is it even real? I had all those different questions. But with many things, what I did, I just thought, you know what? Let me throw myself into it, learn as much as I can, try it, and if I like it, then we take it from there. So that's the longest story of how I got into coaching.
Would you say you're very future orientated? Because you said with the therapy, you didn't like the fact it was always looking towards the past. Would you say coaching gave you that? Yeah, would you say it gave you
Yeah. So
that?
look, therapy is fantastic. I think it's in a way, I would say it's a form of healing, kind of emotional healing, whether people have to reconcile some past or understand, why things happen. Uh, it could be, of course, like a more recent future that the therapy can help you with, but typically, there are many different types of therapy. Uh, for example, psychotherapy, you don't necessarily get like homeworks and tasks and things to do. Whereas with CBT, that's a lot more proactive. But in general, I felt like me. I'm quite, I love setting goals. I love working to it, planning towards it, and achieving the next milestones, and just overall um, getting as good as I can be, or like as my clients can be. I think therapy is really good at bringing you back to normal, and coaching is really good at taking it from there further. So I think I'm kind of present future oriented.
No, that makes sense. And coaching, as you said, facilitates that. So, how do you facilitate the present and future coaching within your clients? So, when they come to you, they want to work on something, and how do you facilitate helping them achieve that?
Yeah, great question. So, people often come to me not necessarily to fix the past, because I can't do that. People come to me because either something doesn't feel right. There are areas of their life that they're not happy with, um, which essentially means they believe they could do better, or they could have a better life, or they could be happier, more fulfilled, and so on. And so there is usually a gap between their current situation and what they're aspiring to be or to have, or what they want to be or have. And the way I facilitate that is initially, look, the first step is always the discovery session, which is when we kind of sit down with the person that's interested in coaching, and I want to understand their current situation, what they're happy about, what they're not happy about, what are the areas that they would like to work on, and what would make them happy. Like they want to change things. I want to understand what the end goal is, and sometimes people don't even know, or they're not very clear on what the goals are. They just know, like, I'm not happy with who I am, or what my life is, or what my performance at work is, or what my relationship is. And sometimes we need to figure it out. Um, I would say there are three kind of pillars to my coaching, and it's clarity, strategy, and accountability. The first on clarity, I would say that's when people don't know what they want. Um, the strategy comes with when they know what they want, but they don't know how to achieve it. So if we're working on that, we need to figure out, okay, what are the steps, what are the activities, what are the milestones, what are the changes that they need to make. And the the third pillar is accountability. So that's when people know what they want, and they know how to get it, but they can't get themselves to do it. So we need to work on that, right? Whether it's the mindset, whether it's just friction in the process, um, staying consistent, being disciplined. So that's essentially how I would say I facilitate um, the change.
Would you say when people come to you because they're not satisfied with their life, like in their relationships or work or just their life in general, would you say those are the most common reasons people come to you, or is there some other factors that I've missed?
Yeah, good question. I would say most commonly it's probably confidence, and that's regardless of how successful people are. I've worked with people who are extremely successful, or even extremely confident, in my opinion, and they still suffer from an imposter syndrome. They feel like they should be more confident in specific areas of their life. Um, Another big part is just um, kind of clarity of figuring out what is it that people want, right? I work with adults, so people who are typically in their maybe from mid 20s to, I don't know, 40s, 50s. And but I would say the majority of my clients are between 30 to maybe 45 years of age. And they often, you're young, so you yet to go through that. But when you reach like your maybe mid 30s or 40s, you start realizing that, okay, man, these first 30 or 40 years of my life happened really quickly. And I want to make sure that in the coming decades, I'm taking my life in the right direction. And sometimes people are not sure what it is, what's the right direction. So we need to kind of sit back and figure it out. Sometimes people know they are heading in the wrong direction. It's not the career that they're passionate about. They maybe have neglected their health and just their personal life because they committed so much to their career. So I would say confidence, um, clarity of the life direction, and also um, sort of discipline or just making sure that they stick with the right habits. Because look, let's say if somebody is not happy with their health and fitness, most people know what needs to be done. Most people know that they need to eat better, eat less junk food, exercise more, and so on and so forth. And we need to find a way how to get them committed and stay consistent with this. Not just through brute force and doing something that they hate, but finding enjoyable ways maybe to do that. And also integrating it well into their life. Because then, the better integrated those good habits are, the less friction there's going to be and the easier it is to stick with it.
What are the biggest frictions that people face when they try to integrate what they want into their current lives? Because one thing I've personally found is, as I've been building this podcast, as I've been doing everything else, it's kind of clashed a lot with who I am and with some parts of my current life, but the life I want isn't my current life. So what is that friction for some people?
Yeah, very good point. I would say, so what you described, there is essentially kind of identity mismatch, right? And that's something that many people um, encounter on their journey, is that they're used to being certain way, and they have their habits around it, they have their um, routines around it, and it's that's how they see themselves. They may not like, for example, being overweight, or I don't know, underperforming at work or something, but that's the momentum their life has at that time. And so changing anything, we as humans, we're quite risk and change averse, because change takes a lot of energy. Change is potentially risky, right? Because you I always tell people, just to go a little deeper into this, if you are engaging in certain behavior for a long time, or you live in a certain way for number of months or years even, it's not a coincidence. It's a strategy that they have. They may not like it, that life. They may not like, I don't know, putting on weight, or being unhappy, and so on. But it is a strategy, because they've created this familiarity with the situation, where they know how to kind of handle it. They know how to deal with it. They know how to maybe, I don't know, suppress some of those negative voices, or how to just kind of go about life that way. It may not be happy, but it's comfortable, or at very least convenient, right? And then changing anything about it, and that would mean, making their life better, losing weight. Like, you've been on the journey of, incredible kind of weight loss and fitness transformation. Um, that requires a lot of energy and effort and commitment. And look, I always tell people, being successful, whatever that means, whether it's being fit and healthy, or being in a great relationship, doing what you love for a living, it's not complicated or hard. The problem is that not being successful is so much easier. It's so much easier to not go to the gym than, sorry, yeah, it's so much easier to not go to the gym than to go to the gym. It's so much easier to not look for jobs than to look for jobs. It's, I could give you lots of different examples, but changing anything, we inherently are quite averse to it. And so, but the reason for that is because of how we see the situation. If somebody sees going to the gym, like, oh my God, I have to go to the gym, and people will look at me, and I feel uncomfortable, and I have to go early, I have to pay for the gym, maybe paying for the personal trainer, or I have to like apply for jobs and things like that. Now we are stacking the odds to do something against ourselves in our own head, because we're focusing on the negatives, on the friction. And sometimes, so the reason why I'm saying this is because when we let our mind do its own thing, this is what it will do. It will try to keep you safe or in the familiar zone. And it will focus on all the risk and negatives and friction and so on. And what I often need to do with my clients is to kind of change the perspective, help them see the other side of that. Okay, you go to the gym, you'll feel great about yourself. Yeah, okay, so you spend £30 a month for gym membership, but you can afford it. Maybe you meet some people in the gym. You actually being in proximity of other fit people, like you will start feeling better about yourself because like you're one of them, one of the people that are getting fit. So we can focus on the positives. And what will happen is that it will make people much more likely, it will make it so much easier for them to kind of lean into the change, because it's the change aversion that often prevents people from um, acting in the right way, I suppose.
I also think it's a lack of comparison to the other side, because admittedly I was quite, well, I was what, 22, 23 when I had my wake up call as this is my life and this is awful. But I had the online comparison of life could be this way, could be that, could be this. But if I never had that, I don't even think I would have done half the stuff I've already done, because I just didn't have the comparison. And I wonder how many people don't have that, so they stay the way they've always been.
I mean, this is very important to even do this exercise, just to like a contrast what life is and what it will be if you don't change anything, and what it could be if you do change something. And I'm not into encouraging people into fooling themselves into like some crazy fantasies, but okay, let's just be real, right? If you don't change anything, nothing will change. Things will probably get worse. You can roll a die on it and see what happens, but I think most of us are in a extremely fortunate position that we have access to the resources and the knowledge, and the like the resources in terms of um, like the help that you can get even just through reading books, right? Like the guidance on that journey. And in my opinion, what holds people back most of the time is just not acting on it, not making the most out of all that.
I guess it's one thing I've recently learned from my current job is some people don't even want to change. They're just more. I know a few people. I've got to be very careful as I say this, but I know some people who enjoy that way of life. If that makes sense. So their current state,
Yeah, yeah.
as much as of a mess it is, they actually enjoy it, and that's always kind of, let's say, sad, and that's kind of scares me, because that could have easily been me, or that could be anyone, to be honest. It's like, yeah, life's not going great, but I kind of like it, and I look at that and go, I don't know what your life's going to turn out, but I do not want that.
Well, and here's the interesting thing. If you sit down with them and they would explain to you everything about their life, the way they think about it, and what's important to them, and what are the upsides and what are the downsides, it would make perfect sense to you why they don't want to change. Like I truly believe that we do what we think is right in the moment most of the time. Um, it's just that in the moment we are judging things from a very short-term perspective. Like look, when someone is out and drinking and they're 7 beers or 7 drinks and they ordering more, in the moment it seems like the right thing to do because you're out, you're having fun, you're partying, and but in the moment they don't think too clearly about it, and it's just like right now, maybe if I have more drinks, I have more fun. In a long-term perspective, there will be, the next morning they might be thinking, oh, I should have stopped because I'm really suffering right now. And it's important to think, as you said, to think long term, or just to see the bigger picture, to see the bigger perspective, because I think we will be able to, or we are able to make better decisions.
I mean, I know what you mean when it comes to music and energy drinks. It's like, oh, one more sounds like a good idea. Oh no, the next day. Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, you know that about me.
Well, it's like, with eating, right? Like you once you eating is okay. Let's order more. Let's have more. In the moment, it seems like the right thing to do. It seems like it's worth it, right? Um, but yeah, in the long run, probably not.
Who would you say are your more standout clients? The ones that, because you've been doing coaching for over a decade now. During those 10 years, which of your clients have really stood out? So you don't have to mention names, but which ones have really stood out? And what was it about those people that made you go, you're different than the majority of those I work with, for good or bad?
So maybe I replied or answered in a way, kind of for what reasons someone stands out. It's hard to kind of pinpoint someone specific without like naming them, or being very specific. So over, as you said, so I've been coaching for 11 years, and I've worked with over 600 clients. And for the initial discovery session, I've had probably more than 2,000 people. And generally speaking, I always say it makes sense when some people, like those people who are very successful, or they become very successful, or they got the results and so on. It makes sense when I've either spoken with them, or after we've worked together, I got to know them through working with them, because it's just their attitude. I think the key qualities there is they're very good, very calculated risk takers. So I would say they're quite risk averse, not just blindly or stupidly jumping into things. Um, there's like a cliche stereotype, I suppose, that what holds people back is just fear of failing, or fear of change and things like that. It is very true. I would say people are very kind of risk averse and fearless. Maybe fearless is not it's not true. I would say they're they're able to act in spite of the fear or discomfort that they feel. They're very hardworking, um, and that means they put in the hours, because without it, um, okay, you can be lucky. I think working smart is very important, but you know, if you want something, you need to put the time in, for you to make the progress. Whether like you go to the gym and you go regularly and you go very early, and like there's a big commitment, and even when you went through the weight loss, there's a big commitment, and that's why you got the results. If someone goes to the gym once a week, that's not going to cut it. Same with whether it's entrepreneurship, whether it's whatever goals people have. Um, so I would say those qualities, but probably good people skills is advantage as well. Good social intelligence or emotional intelligence, because Um, it helps you build a good network around yourself. Of course, the network can then give you a good push as well. It could be a great accelerator in whatever you're doing. Whereas with poor people skills, that may, if people try to make it on their own, not that it's impossible, but it may just take a little bit longer. What else? I would say these are the key ones. And equally, just if I flip the coin, is that when people were for a long period of time in a rut, so to speak, it also made sense. Why? Typically there was oh, sorry, one of the positive qualities was also discipline. Uh, People are just able to just do what needs to be done, right? And so on the flip side, I think self-discipline has just been, in my opinion, one of the key thing where people when people struggled of getting results or achieve the goals that they wanted in life, because we all know people who are like keen to set goals and talk big game and maybe even have ambitions, but when it comes to being consistent or doing the work, it's just they just not able to do that. And also, I find that being knowing how to manage your mindset or control your mindset, whether it's self-talk, whether it's kind of understanding your emotions and not letting your emotions getting out of hand, being knowing how to work with those kind of instincts and urges that we have. Um, that's very important as well. Again, the successful people seem to have had very good grip on it, and people who were kind of long term stuck, that usually this is something that they struggled with. I found actually one last maybe positive quality amongst successful people is that they had this obsessive personality, in a positive way, right? Like you may call it passion, you may call it drive, but they were just determined and kind of obsessed over getting certain results, and they wouldn't let go until either got there or it became obvious that it just that couldn't happen. Because people quit too easily, in my opinion. Um, Successful people tend to be quite thick-skinned.
So you said people tend to quit too easily. What does that mean?
Well, take New Year's resolutions as an example, right? So many people set them. And usually it's not like, okay, for January I will do so and so. No, that's usually for the whole year, for 6 months. These are like a long-term New Year's resolutions. Like this year I'm going to exercise 3 times a week, or this year I'm going to get promoted, or this year this and this year that. And majority of New Year's resolutions get broken by the end of January, um, because people don't stick with it, and so that means people quit too easily because why people don't stick with it. Okay, maybe it was too difficult. The commitment that they had. Let's say I'll meditate for 2 hours every day, and they realized, okay, I can't really give it 2 hours every day. So if I can't do it, it's just too difficult. Maybe they don't have the time, or meditating for 2 hours is very hard. It just becomes too difficult, so that they quit, or they'll be getting up every morning at 5 o'clock. And it's fun for the first 3-4 days, maybe for the week or two, but then they want to go out, they want to watch movies till late or something, and getting up at 5 becomes really difficult. I mean, it's not impossible. If you had a flight, the next day you would get up because you have to, right? But it it feels hard probably, and it feels uncomfortable or inconvenient, and it's just easier to sleep until 7 or 8 or whatever. and so and so people stop. Now, because it's just a matter of, I believe most people stop with their commitments because it's inconvenient at most, or um, because it's not fun anymore. Of course, there are occasions or situations where the commitment was just too hard, like meditating for 2 hours a day. Fine, okay, let's make it 15 minutes. That's okay, right? Let's calibrate the goal a little bit. Sometimes people, if they don't have that much experience with setting goals, they may start a little bit too ambitious. 4-hour morning routine, and it's just unsustainable. And okay, let's dial it down to maybe 2 hours. Still too long? Okay, let's make it 45 minutes. So it would be okay if, rather than stopping in at the end of January, if they dial it back down to 15 minutes of meditation, or 30-minute morning routine, or half an hour of exercise 3 times a week. But they carried on throughout the year. So that would be manageable. Most people have that time. But because either the goal was too difficult to start with, or it just stopped being fun, and so people stop.
How was people keep that goal fun? Because I'm experiencing this myself. I've definitely hit that dip where most people would quit what they're doing. What what can people do to keep it fun and enjoyable, especially if it's something that's going to take, say, 5 years to complete or accomplish?
It's a very good question, and I would okay. I'll answer in two ways. The first one, how to make the the activity working towards the goal more enjoyable. I think finding, kind of mixing up the ways, um, how to get that. Let's say if it's daily result, or weekly result. Are there different ways to do that? Because we do get bored if it's the same thing over and over and over again, right? Our mind kind of thrives in um, in novelty. So mixing things up a little bit, that can really help. I think seeing progress is really important as well. With some goals, the progress is slow. With some goals, the progress is fast. But let's say tracking the progress, just seeing. Let's say with weight, right? If you weigh yourself um, regularly or weekly, the scale will tell you whether you're on the right track or not. And if you see that, okay, every week maybe you're losing 200 or 300 grams, okay, good. It's whatever you're doing, it's working, right? So seeing the results is it's encouraging. Having people that you can work on the goal with, they may be working on their own goals, but just being some kind of part of community, not only will give you this social accountability, but the community will kind of carry you as well a little bit. Not they won't do the work for you, but it's I call it the library effect, right? Like if you go to the library, everyone around you is studying, it feels okay or maybe even enjoyable to study as well, right? Whereas if you go and study somewhere where everyone around you is playing or do whatever they want to do, now that will make studying feel really hard and boring, and you will resent it because everyone around you is having a great time. Now, to the second part to my answer is that um, I don't think if it's meant to be. So I don't know if it's meant to be enjoyable all the way. Like I love what I do for a living. I can't think of anything else I'd rather do. But it's not always fun. It's not always easy. Like running business is hard, it's stressful, and I love what I do. Right? There are people I know that they work with clients who love what they're doing, and And we have conversation about, hey, it's difficult. It's like I'm struggling with this and struggling with that. So what I'm trying to say is that I think having the expectation that it should be fun and enjoyable and easy all the way through is actually the reason why it feels hard sometimes, because that's not realistic. It's like putting that expectation on yourself that I'm always happy, I'm always cheerful, I'm always buzzing with energy. That's just not how it works, right? You have good days, you have bad days. Sometimes it's down to you, sometimes it's other people's fault. And when working on your goals, um, I think the journey should be enjoyable, because reaching the goal, even with, let's say, with your podcast to reach, I don't know, 100,000 subscribers, you'll be thinking, oh my God, when I reach the goal, it's going to be absolutely incredible. It will be incredible for a little bit, right? I always tell people, let's say if you have a degree, um, and or something that you studied for a long time, like, how long did you celebrate that? How long did that make you feel amazing? Well, a couple of days when you finished your when you finish your exams and when you had your graduation ceremony. That's it. You, for 4 years, or depending how you studied, you celebrated and felt this high for like a day or two, for a few hours. And so I think just hoping that reaching the result, and that's going to be the highlight of it all, that's what will make the work worth it. I think that's a little bit romantic, right? So I think the journey should be enjoyable as much as possible, but one needs to expect that some days are going to be great, some days not so much. I'm really into running. I have a race in a few days. I've been training for it for 4 months. I'm running, 6 days a week, running a lot. Some days I look forward to the run. Some days I would rather not, right? I just like, I'm not loving it. But that's okay. I've committed to the goal and this is what I need to do. And I know that tomorrow maybe I will really enjoy the workout.
I tend to find having little rewards along the way. So if you're writing a book, have something ready to go where you can just have it once you've done a chapter. Recently did it because as you know, I've recorded over, this is episode 33. As soon as I hit episode 30, I just went to the cinema and just had a blast. It's a nice way of just keeping things interesting and rewarding as time goes on.
100%. It's a great example, like having some kind of milestones that you can celebrate. But look, I think people, like, the real reward that seem to be overlooked is that when you work towards your goals, um, you're doing something for, like, you're doing something for yourself. You being the version of yourself that you've been wanting to be, right? And just letting yourself feel and enjoy kind of the pride or fulfillment or the self-respect, self-worth that comes from, being the version of yourself that you want to be, and you're kind of practicing it in one day at a time. Um, I think there's a lot of contentment in it when you can be in peace with who you are, when you kind of show up on the day and do the right thing.
It is a long journey, though. Would you agree with that? Because you've done, like I said, you did coaching for 10 years. It's come up to a year since I've started this podcast project. It, it lasts a long time, but at
Yeah,
the same
it
time, it
is.
goes so quick. Yeah, it goes so quick.
Look, if it were easy, everybody would have it. If everybody would have it, it wouldn't be valuable, right? So it is a long journey. I think life is long. Um, it depends what you're working on. Some goals are um, you can achieve sooner or easier than others. But what else people want to do? If this is what you want, if this is your goal, would you feel better not working on it? I don't think so, right? And so I always tell people, look, if it takes you a year, so be it. Like, you be around in a year anyway, right? So you can be around with having achieved that goal or without it. Which version of yourself do you want to be?
That reminds me of a when I was coming back from the gym. When was this? This was May last year, I think, or April. It. I was walking back thinking I could have got one of my goals done by now, and it was just. I'll never forget that regret because it was that knowing that I could have done it, but I didn't, and that was just so painful. Because I could have been walking back with that goal achieved, and it would have been so much different.
Exactly, right? So, and this is, that's a great insight because you can, I don't know if it happened repeatedly, but if it happened like a one off, that means that on the other times you did it right. And I think it's important to reflect on this as well and just feel like, wow, I'm glad that I got it done. I feel proud that I've done this. I'm happy with who I'm being today. And because look, this is called classical conditioning. Behavioral that gets rewarded gets repeated. When you let your when you reward yourself, and that doesn't mean that you buy yourself a cake or a car or something. When you just let yourself or make yourself feel good for the right behavior, your brain will connect those events, and it will then want to do more of the right behavior. And so because it wants to feel good again, it's like before we started, we talk about my dog, and our dog can do lots of different tricks, and but it's not difficult to teach your dog because if she does something right, we reward it. If she does the wrong thing, you ignore it, right? But because she wants to, the reward, whether it's you scratch her belly or give her a treat or something, like she likes that, so she will want to do more of what got her the reward. Now, our brain works the same way. But sometimes, actually, that's a very good point. What people don't realize that they actually punish themselves for doing the right thing, right? Let's say you're scared of public speaking and you go to Toastmasters and you do the table topic, which means like for 1 minute or for 2 minutes you stand there and speak on whatever topic they give you, and it's if you're not like experienced public speaker, that's terrifying. You're in front of people, you have to improvise and so on. That should be like celebrated, and people should make themselves feel really good about it and feel really proud. But what people often do is that they think, oh my god, that was so stupid. Why did I do that? I look like an idiot, and people thought they must have thought I'm a terrible speaker, and they punish the right action, which makes them do it again much less likely. And so, and we do this. This is just an example. We do this all the time, and we kind of train ourselves to not do the right thing.
It's easier to do than train yourself to do the right thing. And I tend to find personally that,
Of course.
yeah, and I tend to find personally that life keeps on testing you with, are you going to do the right thing again and again and again, although you've done it the right thing for the past 6 months. It just keeps showing up. I don't know how I feel about, well, how I think about that, because you've done it for X amount of time and it still wants to keep testing you with the same thing. I don't know, it just seems a bit, what's the word, arrogant to assume that something different would, no, insane, it seems a bit insane that life would try and test you again like 6 months down the line with the same thing. It's like, well, it didn't work the first 6 months, well, it'll work now. I don't know whether I've got that
Yeah,
right.
life. Yeah, life happens, and life doesn't care about our plans. And there is a saying that the life will teach you or keep teaching you the same lesson until you learn, right? Um, But again, look, this is the mindset. You asked me what some of the most successful people had in common. And it's the mindset. People would look at a challenge as oh my God, why is this happening to me? This is awful. Nothing will ever work out for me. I'm useless, or the universe is conspiring against me. Whereas I find that those people, they kind of take it as, yeah, okay, well, yeah, it's like the thing I need to work through, and yeah, things happen, and they don't, yeah, they don't make it about themselves very much. It's just something they almost expect to be part of the journey, which I think it's a very healthy attitude.
I learned this quite recently. It took me long enough, but the sooner you get in your head what life's trying to teach you, the sooner it stops trying to teach you that lesson. It took me way too long to learn that one, but yeah,
Sometimes it takes a while.
does it. What is your philosophy behind your catchphrase, okay is not enough? Because I've heard another variation from a different coach called, and I've mentioned him to you before, Clark Kegley, where he says refusing to settle. It's kind of the same sentiment, where it's like the average is not okay, or is not good enough. But what's your personal take on that philosophy?
Yeah, good question. So, what it essentially means that I think we all have a tendency to fall to the comfort zone in life, which I call the okay zone. There's nothing wrong with it. A lot of people are perfectly um, happy to stay in that comfort zone. Um, but while it can be comfortable and convenient, from my experience at least, with all the people that I've worked with, all the people that I know, this okay zone, kind of the comfort zone, it's rarely fulfilling, right? It's convenient. People can cruise through life there, but I rarely have a conversation with those people when they are kind of okay, in okay shape, they have okay job, with making okay money, they have okay relationship. It's kind of like, yeah, it's okay, it's all right. Fair point. Like, if this is someone's ambition, yeah, I have absolutely no judgment. But let me ask you, if you read the book and it's okay, or if you watch a movie and it's okay, would you watch it again? Right? If you go to a restaurant and get a meal and it's kind of okay, would you order it again? If you go on holidays and it's kind of okay, would you go back there again? Most people would say, no, no, I wouldn't. Why not? Yeah, because I want more. Okay, fine. You want more from holidays and from a meal and from a book and from a movie. Why don't you want more from life? Like, when you have an okay day, why are you happy to live it again? Right? And I call it the okay zone. It's sort of a zone of tolerable discomfort, which means life is not great, but it's not bad enough to do something about it. Right? And so, um, because to get more or to do better, to be from the okay zone to the winning zone, as I call it, that requires more efforts, more risk, more discomfort, sacrificing this comfort zone, disturbing that, right? And look, everything I think in the universe is trying to find the equilibrium of the forces, and I think the okay zone is like an equilibrium between effort and reward, right? And to put it into words, I would say to be as little uncomfortable as possible with a minimum amount of effort, right? And hey, as far as I know, we all have just one shot, in life, like at life. why not try to make it as good as it could be? Now, being in the winning zone, whatever that means to people, it doesn't mean an easy life, but it usually means more fulfilling life with more happy moments, happier moments, feeling better about yourself, maybe being able to provide, better life for people around you. So, yeah, in my opinion, okay is enough. Okay, it's not enough, but it is enough for some people.
I tend to find there's a bit of irony there. It's ironically it's the okay zone that brings the most discomfort for most people, but the winning zone, or what people will consider discomfort, is the less discomfort. That's great grammar. It's the place where there's going to be a lot less discomfort because it's more tuned to what you want, and you feel it's more as challenges and just why is this happening to me.
You mean in the okay zone?
I mean, the winning zone, as you describe it, is you'll still have the discomfort, but it feels more inviting. So whenever I have a challenge with this podcast, it feels more inviting because it's the thing I want. So when something comes up like, oh, I'm having issues with, I've just had a couple of hiccups recently, but I just feel as okay, it's annoying, but then it could be worse. I'm more up for dealing with it because it's along the journey or along the path of what I actually want. But if I was in the okay zone and let's say I didn't want the podcast, I was doing this like I went to work for someone else because I had to pay the bill sort of thing. Then I feel it's more of why sort of situations, more like why am I dealing with this, as opposed to oh I'm more up for this.
Look, there's a saying that life is hard no matter what. It's just that when you're successful, you've chosen the kind of hardship that you want to endure. Whereas when you just let life happen, life will throw that hardship on you, right? And yeah, so maybe when you if we take like generic version of success, um, you're wealthy and I don't know, you run a business, something like there are still challenges. You're employing people, there's struggles with that, and you probably have on your mind that can you pay the salaries and you're trying to get the business and with more money you have just different kind of problems. Sometimes you have when you have a lot of money you have problems money can't solve. Like life is not. People shouldn't be in this kind of delusion that life is just. I don't know if you have money or whatever results people want that life becomes easy. Um, it becomes easier for that specific thing. Maybe if you have, let's say you have money, you don't have to worry about paying the bills. But there's a different, you get different stresses in your life, right? So, and maybe that kind of comes back nicely to um, the journey that when it's not fun and when it's not enjoyable, like the expectation of that it should always, the journey or life that always should be fun and enjoyable and happy and all that. I don't think it's I don't think it's real. That's not how it works. I don't know anybody who is just, you know, blissful all the time and life is just incredible and phenomenal. And I know people who say they're like this, but I know them enough to know that that's not true. That's not how they feel, right? Sometimes it's just like a facade or it's a marketing persona. And it's okay. Life, look, I think happiness is like a holiday destination. That's it's place that we visit every now and then, right? Like you don't go on holidays and you stay living there. Because even if you did, and let's say it's somewhere incredible, I don't know, Caribbean or whatever, wherever people want to live. After some time, the incredible would become a norm, and it wouldn't be as incredible anymore. You would get bored of it. You would want some change. You would think, oh, I'd love to live in Tokyo. That would be the holiday destination for you. And in the same way, um, you can't expect to always be happy, because if you were, it would become a norm and it wouldn't be special. I've written an article on this. The headline is "Life is not always amazing, and you wouldn't even want it that way." It's a very long title, but that kind of, if it was amazing all the time, it would stop being amazing because you would just normalize it.
It will become your default at that point.
Exactly. Exactly. Like, for example, living condition, right? I know that you moved in the past from different places. When sometimes people think, oh my God, when I can live in that place, or what young people think, when I can move out and just live by myself somewhere out of the parents' house, that I would be so happy. Well, after a few months or a year, it doesn't feel that special anymore. All of a sudden, they realize, oh shit, I need to pay bills and this and that. There are different worries, and landlord is difficult. One, we realize that okay, the grass is not that green on the other side. But secondly, this new amazing becomes a norm, right? So it stops being special.
One last question. Over the past 10 years that you've been in the coaching industry, how have you seen it change and evolve from when you first started to now?
That's a good question. So I was very much part of it at the beginning. Funny as with any industries, once you get into it, it seems like everybody's doing it. It suddenly became more mainstream, more popular. Look, 11 years ago in the US, it was a big thing already. In the UK, not as much. I think I think probably more people are coaching now. Um, I think it's great that people see it as a kind of credible way to get help, and there are coaches out there that can help you with all sorts of things. From I do more of a performance coaching. There are people who do some spiritual stuff, which I don't know anything about. There is there are career coaches. There are, I don't know, sales coaches, entrepreneurship coaches. What's it called? Life purpose coaches. Coaches sometimes specialize in lots of different areas, um, or generalists as well. And so I think it's great that people see it as a way to get support, and they give it a try. I think coaching can really help anyone. I'm not as much part of the. I don't really pay that much attention where the industry is at the moment. Um, yeah, I think the main changes just became more mainstream, and I think that's fantastic. Um, there is this um, negative opinion about coaching that anyone can do that, and that's true. Like, the barrier to entry is very low. You can call yourself coach today, and that's it. Um, you don't even need technically you don't really need any kind of qualification or anything like that. However, the low barrier to entry doesn't mean that the people that are not good, like that everyone will become successful and will somehow um, um, make easy money, or just like have easy career. That's not how it works. Like with any other profession, if you want to make it and do it successfully full time, and survive for a long period of time, then you have to be good. You have to provide good service and support your clients. And where I used to be very concerned about competition in the past, especially in my early days, I'm not now, because um, yeah, it's a business like any other. It's not easy, and there's a lot to learn if you want to be good at it. Um, but the main change, I would say, that people are more open to it, which I think is great.
Tomas Svitorka, everyone. Where can people find you if they want to book you for some coaching or just want to get to know you some more?
So to go to my website. If you just type in my name, I'm the only one in the world with that name. So you'll find a lot of resources, but my website should come up. And there you can read around what I do. I got lots of testimonials and case studies. I have loads of articles there and videos that people can watch and read. And of course, if you feel like coaching is something you're interested in, or you'd like to know more about, get some support, you can contact me through my website. I'm also on Instagram and LinkedIn, on other platforms as well, but my website, Instagram, and LinkedIn are the primary ones. So again, just type in my name. I'm the only one that will come up. And yeah, feel free to get in touch.
What's up, people? If you enjoyed this episode with Thomas, then you'll enjoy my conversation with Iana Arakari, who is a reality shifting coach, right here. But if you want something a little more unique, then I have Brooke Davis, who is the lead singer for the band The Wild Violets, right here. Until next time, I'll see you there.